Hey everybody, it's John here, owner of The Simplest Biz. The topic for the day, we're going to talk about multiple revenue streams in the pallet business. So I'll give it a couple of seconds here for people possibly to get on. Multiple revenue streams in the pallet business, because I'm always talking about pallets. But there's all types of other revenue streams to be had when it comes to pallets, and we're going to go over a multitude of different streams of income inside this revenue stream. Okay, put that out there. Simplestbiz.com. If you guys have any questions after this, or you can email me at thesimplestbiz@gmail.com. We can go from there. So anyway, let's get into it. Okay, and I'm gonna have this on replay. So if you want to watch it later, if you're coming in late, you can watch it later. So here's what happened. Back in 2006, I had a customer that had a downturn. Actually went out of business. And I'd been doing pallets from 1998 to 2006 range, and that time just pallets, but I was doing multiple different styles of pallets. Not just the 4840 standard. But when that business of that one of my good customers went out of business, it made me, it shook me a little bit, going, okay, all I've been focusing on, blinders on, is the pallet business, right? When in reality, there is a multitude of other things to deal with that I wasn't paying attention to. And that situation made me start paying attention to all the other things that could come into play as far as other revenue streams that I could help the businesses that I was already dealing with. And let's go over an example of just one. So I delivered pallets to a company, but they were putting corrugated boxes of all different shapes and sizes. They mainly used them 3 different sizes of corrugated boxes. And they were putting multitudes of those corrugated boxes on top of the pallets I was sending them, right? So now in my mind, I'm going, well, I need to source some lightly used corrugated boxes, because I looked up on uline.com what some of those sizes were going for. They were the 36 by 16 by 22 sizes, and in that range, medium sized boxes, and they're paying like $7-8 a piece per box through Uline. Uline's higher than most, but regardless, I sourced tons of these boxes from my other suppliers that I was already dealing with as well, and now I could get those for free. And some I was paying 25 cents to 35 cents a piece for on some of them. But there were other ones that I was getting completely free as well. So, and on average, I was probably paying around 15 cents if you count the free ones in there. And I would be getting hundreds of those at a time. And I approached a business that I was selling pallets to, and sure and lo and behold, they were fine with my lightly used ones, and they were paying me $4.50 per box, compared to the $7+ they were paying through Uline. So now I have a customer I'm selling pallets to, and when I would get there, they'd also say, hey, we need more boxes. So I'd make another run and do boxes for them as well, and they'd order 200 to 300 at a time, and at $4.50 clip, it was a good, the math was good, even if I was paying 35 cents a box on some of them. So that was option one. But here's what else came into play. That same business that used boxes. And I'm going to go through, because I have several of that. All my businesses buy more than pallets from me. But this one went crazy. And this is what set the light bulb off on me, is because they need corrugated boxes, but they also did wire spools, right? They were generating, they were creating a lot of 36-inch, anywhere from 12-inch to 96-inch wire spools. They were putting wire on them, okay, at this place. And so they needed as many as I could bring them, because to buy a new wire spool, it was very expensive for them. And I could get lightly wire spools from a supplier. I sourced those as well. And they said, bring me as many as you can. So when I bring in these wire spools, a lot of them were 36 to 46 to 42 inches, that mid-range section. But they were putting those wire spools on top of my pallets, and they were doing multiple truckloads a day of that going out the window, on the trucks. So not only I'm selling pallets, I'm selling them the wire spools. But guess what I noticed? They were chalking that wire spool to the pallet, meaning they were using a 4x4 piece of lumber, and there's only like 48 inches long to secure it on the pallet, right? So I sourced that as well. I remember I have another customer that I get pallets for and supply, and they generated tons of 4x4 by 8 foot long pieces of what's called dunnage. So now they're buying pallets from me, they're buying corrugated boxes from me, they're buying wire spools from me, and they're buying dunnage from me. And in addition, I noticed that they were using like their plastic bins and stuff for their waste of the wire that they were dealing with. These little pieces of wire at the end, and they were chunking in, and they would recycle that stuff. So it was waste, but they didn't want to throw it out in the dumpster. But they were using these little plastic trash cans, and they were filling up, and multiple times a day they'd have to take it to the recycling bin. So I ended up saying, well, what if I got you Gaylord boxes to put those little pieces of wire in for your recycling purposes? So then they need multiple, because they had multiple stations of these wire stations, and so they needed that as well. Now it's just one customer, and so there was never a time I would go there where I would be delivering pallets and they needed boxes. I would be delivering boxes and they needed wire spools. I was delivering wire spools and they needed more dunnage. So that's how it worked. And you build in a recurring revenue stream for all of these items that you can source for next to free or free. 95% of all the stuff I get is free that I'm sourcing, because the other business that I'm getting from don't know what to do with it. It's an excess. It's just cluttering up their operation at the supply end of it. So it's a byproduct, not just the pallets, all this other stuff. But I have other customers. One of them had to deal with metal, just to give you a slight clue. But I was selling pallets to them, but they were making some smaller items, okay? And I won't get into complete detail, but they were creating a smaller item that one wouldn't fit in a crate, that particular item, but they needed 55-gallon metal drums, right? Hey, Tom Henson is in here. He's one of my students, Tom is. Very cool to see you, Tom. And that's pretty cool, because, listen, Tom has another revenue stream that he does. Tom, I'm sorry, I got off track here. Tom, tell him what happened to you on the other revenue. I won't even mention the revenue when he does under this model, which is an additional revenue stream. But Tom, type out what happened to you, because I remember your story. Tom volunteers for me from time to time to take calls for me, because I can't answer them all. So he's one of my students, and I'm glad. I just noticed he was in here. So if you could type out what happened to you with that other revenue stream, Tom, that'd be cool for you to share. Or if you don't want to type it out, let me know, and I'll kind of speak to it. So where was I? Oh, the 55-gallon metal drums. So I had a company that had a supplier of pallets, but they also had 55-gallon metal drums, and they generated multitudes, like 30 a day. It wasn't like massive, but 30 55-gallon drums a day. So I ended up getting several customers that needed pallets and 55-gallon metal drums, because that small piece that they were creating, it weighed a lot. So they didn't want to put it in crates, so that it would bend the sides out, so the metal drum worked perfectly. But they made other items that a wooden crate worked well, that they didn't want to stack stuff on the pallet and shrink wrap it. So they used crates and put stuff that they wouldn't, that didn't make sense for the 55-gallon metal drum. They put it into crates as well, right? So they're buying pallets, crates, and metal drums from me on a recurring basis. So I know I speak a lot about pallets. But once you get into this business model, you start realizing there's so many other revenue streams, services that come into play. So I'll read what Tom said because he's going to speak to what I was just talking about a second ago. I paid half of the course price within 3 days of finishing the course in a revenue stream that I teach about, and then have to sell anything. So yeah, so it's another service type situation that comes under this business model where Tom went out in a 3-day period. He had half his course paid. I think he had the whole thing paid off in like a week, if I remember, right? So, and then everything after that was gravy. And, you know, I charge for this course. I absolutely do. But if you break it down into what it takes to get your return on investment for the training course, it comes down to a couple loads of pallets, 2.5 loads of pallets, depending on the size. And, you know, 2.5 pallets, once you have your business set up, can be done on a Monday morning between the hours of 8 and 10. And those same businesses that order those pallets, or even the service Tom's talking about that is kind of, we're keeping under the wraps, that is happening on a weekly basis. So they're reordering the pallets, or they need this service that Tom's referring to in here over and over and over again. And the same goes to the supply, whether it be the 55-gallon metal drums, whether it be the corrugated boxes, the Gaylord boxes, industrial bags, wired spools, dunnage, all this different, these items, they're generated by the supplier on an ongoing basis. And we end up being a service to that business as well, because like with the boxes, I'll give you a real world example. Before I came along, they were having to get that all their boxes and get them crushed into those cubes that like you see behind grocery stores. And they were having to pull a guy off that normally would be doing orders, right? And he would have to be sitting in there feeding the boxes in and creating these cubes. Well, that's not a very money-making activity for one of their workers, right? So when I came around, I'm able to take him away from having to do that, and I'm getting rid of this stuff all the time. So back to Tom. Yes, I paid off the course within 8 days, finishing the course. I've been paid thousands of dollars over and over again for 3 years without selling anything. So he's got a sliver of this business model and centered on it, and it's created a revenue source, and he doesn't have to sell anything, right? So in fact, you know, Tom, since you're in here, if anybody, I talk to people when I can. I have students I'm responsible for, but Tom, if you want to, you know, since you take calls for me sometimes, if you want to put some way of them getting out, if anybody on here wants to talk to a student that's actually out there doing this, you can leave, you know, some information in here, Tom, for folks if they have any questions as far as that goes. Carl, thank you for taking the time to put this valuable information together. Well, if you think this is valuable, wait till you get in the training. Because listen, folks, you got to know your stuff. These businesses that we deal with, I'll just be upfront with you. They dealt with some Yahoo that didn't know what they were doing at some point in time. And these businesses have had to deal with somebody presently, right? But the problem is they are getting pinched. They are getting socked between the eyes in the situation they're currently in. Or they're dealing with a Yahoo that doesn't know what he's doing, and his phone's been shut off 3 times this year. So that being said, you know, you need to be trained up to be able to get a bear hug from a warehouse manager, because you know your stuff, you know which questions to ask, you know what solutions to have to help these businesses out in the right way. Because you can paint yourself in corners that you should not paint yourself in. Just like I did in 1998 when I didn't know anything. It took me years to figure this stuff out. So the training is very valuable, telling you where you need to go, who you need to speak to, what you need to say, which questions you need to ask, which answers and solutions you need to have for this business, what you need to notice. And that is if they're a supplier or buyer, whether you're dealing with a forklift driver, where you're dealing with warehouse manager or anybody in between to make this run where you can get out there, pull in, get loaded up, drive 3 blocks down the road, get unloaded, go play golf, get your freedom back. But you need to know your stuff ahead of time, because it will screw this business up if you don't know your stuff and you put them in a position where they don't have their pallets or their crates or their dunnage, right? It creates a domino effect for them, and it'll burn them. And we don't want you to be in that position. We want you trained up, ready to go, get out there and do this in a correct manner to where you can lock yourself in for that supply exclusively, whether it be all these items. Think about it. You are the one person that could come up to a supplier, as an example, and know how to move their crates and their corrugated boxes and their 55-gallon drums and their pallets, right? Nobody else knows how to move this stuff. So you get exclusivity for it because you're the one person they can rely on, because you've learned what it takes to move it on a consistent, reliable basis. Same with the buyer. Once you're attached to them with the pallets to start with, maybe, and then you start adding in the dunnage and the corrugated boxes as well, now you are tethered to them in 3 different ways, right? So it's very cool. It's a very cool way to become indispensable to these businesses. And what happens is they just order over and over and lock you in for not only for the year, but for decades is what it can come in. And you can end up with thousands of orders from these businesses because you're serving them the right way. And that's what my training is about, to teach you to get in that position so you don't, you become very efficient at this and not have to spend your whole day either hunting down pallets, because we teach you where they are and who these places are, and to even have a scout from home, but how to get this done fast. How to move 300 pallets before 10 o'clock in the morning and be done with your day, and multiply that out by 3 pallets times $10 a piece and pull in, several grand in that transaction, right? Or brokering. And I talked about brokering yesterday in the live video. I'm going to say brokering, a detailed discussion about it for tomorrow as well, because I'm going to do a lot more lives on here. Yeah, Tom, again, I'm glad you're in here, Tom, because people just hear from me, and I'm glad to see that you're sharing what's going on with you. I have a customer that I sell 3 different sizes of pallets to. So, yeah, you also have multitudes of different styles of pallets just within the pallet game, but you can even multiply your revenue streams vertically per customer. So how many customers do you need? If you sold 3 items to 3 customers, that's 9 reoccurring revenue streams on most times a weekly basis. So it's not like you have to dominate the city that you're in or the town you're in. You can broker as well, and you can do this all passively without even owning a truck. But just 3 customers, 4 customers, buying multiple revenue streams, it can make you a living that in a period of time that would make your head spin. Oh, my wife's sneaking up on me. What are you doing?
I'm filming you.
You're filming me?
I'm filming you filming.
Well, if y'all don't see this, but my desk is like a disaster area, so I don't know where you're going to post that. There's my wife, Melissa. We're getting our house painted. So we're out here in the guest house right now, because they got all our furniture covered up in plastic and all scrunched together. So anyway, you got anything to share? Did you hear what I was talking about?
No. I've tuned them out. We're married.
I do have to talk a lot. I was just talking about multiple revenue streams for, if you have one business, I always talk pallets. So I was letting them know about corrugated boxes and 55-gallon drums, and those same businesses that need pallets also need these other items as well. So people feel like they have to continually try to find a new customer, but with this business model, a lot of times they're built in.
Gotcha.
Any comment on that?
Well, not necessarily on that. I can say that from a life standpoint, I can give you my perspective. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go back about, 13 years when we started dating.
Yeah, because I'd already, I've been doing it for years when I met her, right?
Yeah, and so.
Well, met her again. I went to high school with her. But.
Yeah, so anyway, 20 years later. But it was quite interesting in that I went, a pallet guy. I'm going to start dating a pallet guy.
Doesn't sound very sexy.
It was not very sexy at all. But I got to know him and I got to know this business. And when I understood that.
I'm just positioning the mic for you.
Okay. When I really got a good understanding of how this business works, I went, this is flipping brilliant. You know, you don't have a whole lot of inventory, overhead, right? You don't have employees. You don't have to put inventory and house it somewhere. You know, it's not a large startup cost. And literally, you can go and get those pallets for free and then deliver them and somebody pays for them. Brilliant. I've been in corporate America or I was for 32 years. And he was making more than me. I was like, what the hell? I am stuck at the desk 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, cannot move. Yet he comes up with this, and it's brilliant. So, yeah, he was lucky after that.
Well, I guess part of it, yeah, I was lucky after. In fact, Carl, love to see the hardworking woman behind the hardworking man.
Oh, thank you. It's good to see y'all.
And Tom said she's absolutely correct. But, you know, I guess part of the reason I even went down this road is I didn't want to do. I said I didn't want to do. I probably couldn't do what she does. Right? I don't have the. She does instructional design, and I'd walk in on her conversations, and my mind would just be bent into a knot. So my whole life, I remember saying way back when, man, if I could just have a hot dog stand and get my hot dogs for a nickel and sell them for $2.50. Something just simple. You know, I was always in the search of simple, and the pallets ended up being that thing because I can't work for I don't want to work for anybody else. I've done it. Don't get me wrong. I've done it. I just not going to do it again.
And and I think the other thing is that this whole business is, I don't know if scalable is the right word, but
as an individual, it's scalable. Yeah.
So like he was doing it half a day, a couple hours in the morning.
Right.
This is when we first started dating, y'all. And so then the next day or that afternoon, he was doing music. The next day he was golfing. The next day he spent a couple hours doing pallets. The next day, and I am stuck at corporate. 45 hours a week. He's working maybe 10. I'm like, oh heck to the no. So I was like, you got to, come on. It just
well, the money was there. It was like
the money was there, but then I was like, you need to work a little more. This golfing every day crap and music every day while I am work. So he did increase his customers and stuff. So, yeah. But I guess the whole point is it could be as big or as small as you want. Again, the business model is very, very lucrative.
I guess what you're saying, I had plenty of time to actually, I could have done 10. I had plenty of time to do. I could do 10 loads a day.
I know, but you were single. And,
well, that's true.
And you didn't have me and.
But I didn't feel. I'm sorry, I didn't feel guilty about it. I didn't.
I was getting pissed.
Yeah.
I was pissed.
I didn't feel guilty.
Sorry to say.
Oh goodness. Well, anyway, I hope that guy, that gives you some insight. If you guys, Tom, did you put anything on here if they want to talk to you, if you could talk to some people? How do you want to do that? You still here, Tom? I tell you what, I was motivated yesterday. Today was the whole house. Today the whole house has COVID. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We had it, a month and a half, 2 months ago?
Yeah, my butt.
See above. So I'm looking, what did you put above, Tom?
Hope y'all get better soon.
Put it in here again, Tom. But if you get it, I think it's important if you guys are interested in asking some questions to talk to somebody who's been out there doing it. Y'all hear from me on these videos, but I'm recruiting Tom on the fly here to help me talk to some folks. So anyway, and Tom says he's put some information on here. Let's see. Tom went crazy good. Got paid with the course. I don't see any. I have questions. So broker 2.
Tom, we don't see anything.
I don't see anything where you put any information how somebody can contact you. Good morning, John. I've read all through your post.
We're just reading comments now. Do you have your glasses?
I used some money. My pallet business has made $500,000 so far this year. Hey, let's talk, Fernando. That's fantastic.
Oh my gosh. See, that's what I mean. You can make it as big or as small. That is amazing. And I think that's why I get excited at this point.
I don't see it.
We
Tom.
don't see it, Tom.
Hey, Tom, can I put your number on here? Say yes or no, because I can look at my phone. I got it in there somewhere. Okay.
So while
Where's
he's
my
looking,
phone?
I don't know what you did with your phone.
Oh, here it is. All right, I'm gonna put it. If y'all have any questions,
Yeah.
I guess I've recruited Tom to take some calls.
But back to Fernando, that is fantastic.
That is absolutely phenomenal.
And here's the thing, it brings such warmth to our hearts that this business is changing so many lives, especially nowadays. And, you know, the whole thing is, this is going to do nothing but continue to expand. If you think about artificial intelligence and microsites where they go ahead and put inventory in your local area because they're basically finding out what you normally order, like on Amazon. So there's more and more of these microsites, right, that are being built.
Right.
As a result, bottom line is more and more pallet needs, you know. So I see this business doing nothing but continue.
Oh, I found it.
So
I found it.
Fernando, congratulations.
That is fantastic.
I'm really super happy for you and your family.
How do I see the whole number? Huh?
Just call him.
Well, I guess I might have to.
Yeah, don't answer, Tom.
Yeah, I'm just doing it so I can see your full number.
This is hilarious.
I don't know why it won't show up. Maybe you can't leave a number on there. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Here we go. I'm gonna put. So, if you guys folks want to talk to somebody, I think Tom. Sorry for being on here. I guess it's 7286.
Yeah, Tom, thank you.
Thank you, man. Did it work? It did work. So yeah, the number for Tom's up there. You know, he's just saying if you got any questions or want to hear how he's done it as well. I think it's good for you guys to figure it out that way. $500,000 this year. That's fantastic. A rental box truck good enough to start. I don't have a truck. You can do a rental box truck. There are issues that you're gonna, you got to start somewhere, right? But are you talking about renting a box truck? Because you can rent a flatbed from Penske. You can rent a flatbed from Enterprise. Sometimes there's a local business like we have one in Birmingham called Metro Truck Rental, which are flatbeds. And Home Depot has a small one that is very reasonable that you can get. It's a flatbed, but you have to fold these little hinge sides down. Doesn't hold a lot of pallets, but getting out there to start, you could use Home Depot. But yes, you can do a box truck, but think about it. When you're getting loaded by their forklift drivers, the issue comes in, they're putting a load of pallets at the door, the back door. Then the next one is being pushed in. So you're not really having to restack them. But when you get to the buyer, the issue is how long is it taking to get that stack behind the cab to that opening. Now you can strap, there's techniques, we can show you how to do it, but you can make it happen. Thank you, honey. You can make it happen. I go into detail how to do it either way, but a trailer and a flatbed, it makes your life easier as far as that goes. Anything else? Is a rental box. So I went over that one. Then explain in the group. Okay. Well, we have that. We'll go. There is. You need to go under the featured section inside the group because we discussed that in one of the videos. I got you. But yeah, we'll talk to you about that. It's the easy way of going about it, Joe. I mean, you can do the box truck. It's just there's an easier way. There's a couple extra steps you have to do on the unloading process to make that happen. Anything else? I think I've covered a lot here, folks. Tomorrow I want to cover the brokering section. A lot of people ask me, can I just do the brokering? I highly advise, listen, you got to know the whole industry to do any of this business, really, because when you're presenting yourself to a business that I'm guiding you to, you need to know your stuff, right, about the industry. So regardless if you're doing the brokering, the passive side of it, you still need to know how the ins and out of this business model, A to B as well, because you got to know the situations that these businesses are in, the suppliers and the buyers. So you have to be trained up regardless. That's just a common question, because I got people saying, well, I just want to do the brokering. Okay, well, to know the brokering, you got to know the business. I love to connect and talk to you about the pallet journey. Let me know how I can reach you. Well, Fernando, reach out to me, thesimplestbiz@gmail.com. thesimplestbiz@gmail.com. I appreciate y'all spending time with me. The last video I did live was 50 minutes, but let's keep this one at the 30-minute mark. And I appreciate you guys being on here. I'll have it under the live section once of YouTube. We talked about the multiple revenue streams that are involved with the pallet business for you that came in late. So we went over all the different items and how I have multiplied my revenue streams per customer with these other items besides pallets. So it makes your life a lot more convenient. You're not having to find new customers. You're just multiplying revenue streams. And I'll give you a few examples: corrugated boxes, metal drums, wire spools, dunnage. So I go over each item in this video. If you came in late, you can look at it a little bit. Thank you again, Tom. If anyone calls me, my voicemail, leave me a message. Appreciate you, Tom, for doing that. And you guys have a great day. I appreciate you spending some time with me. And I'm going to be getting on here live a lot more often now. So check my live feed as well for other videos. I think there's a section on my page, The Simplest Biz YouTube channel, where you can click the live button and it shows the live videos from the previous day or the library of them. I don't have a lot of them, but I'm starting to do more. All right, thesimplestbiz.com, thepalletcourse.com are two places you can go to learn more information. Y'all have a good one. Enjoy it.